Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is grabbing each of these individual layers and essentially making them stand on their own, and also making sure the background actually looks like it's an entire wall. Because if I were to animate this thing and I were to move this guy, you would see this hole in the wall. If I were to move this left or right, there just is this blank space. So I'm going to repair that wall as I work. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this figure in the foreground, and what I'm going to use is just the quick selection tool. So the W key would allow for me to do that. It's also the magic wand tool, which is within there, but I'm going to make sure I'm in quick selection because it's going to be the fastest way we can do this. And I'm just going to click and drag across my figure. It's actually looking pretty good. Let me zoom in to make sure that I have most of that. Now you're going to notice, since you're working with paintings, and you're allowed to work with photographs as well, paintings are going to be a little bit more difficult to get a crisp line because of brush strokes. That's okay. We just need to take our time and make sure that we get as much of this figure as possible. You'll notice that there's some strokes across here. I'm not sure if Van Gogh was interpreting that as the hair or as the man's coat. I don't think it would actually make much sense to bring that with her, so we're going to actually leave that alone. Now that I have this, all I'm going to do is hit Control C and Control V. Actually, that didn't do anything. Let's see. Control C, Control V. All right. Now, I did not do a paste in place, so we're just going to make sure that this is laying on top. And I'm just doing this really simply by moving it left and right until I ensure that that is where it's supposed to be. I'm going to label this, and alright, I probably spelled something wrong there, but hey, I'm an art instructor, not English. Okay, so I have that right there. Next, I'm going to break out these figures in the midground, so I'm going to go and select across her. Oh, of course, I'm in the wrong layer. So let me go back and do that again. And I'm basically just making sure really quickly that I have what I need. I can adjust that later if I need to. Now, I could be doing this with layer mask, but I found that it's a little bit easier to work this way by completely copying and pasting it in, just the way After Effects was handling the import. So I have this piece in now. I'll get rid of that in a second. I'm not too worried about that. And I'm also going to get the man who's staring off into sadness. Okay. Which, if you know anything about the potato eaters, this is kind of the whole point of that, was to show the plight of the normal people, so to speak. Not everyone can go off and paint people, and so Van Gogh went off and painted these people because he found the labor so fascinating. Just a different world they lived in. Okay. So now I have this guy and her. So while I'm doing this, I'm also making sure that I have the shift key on. If I didn't have that, I'd actually be causing quite a bit of an issue. Also, if you select something you don't like, just hold down Alt and you'll deselect that. So I have what I want. I am now going to go and Control C and Control V. Now I have two different layers. Yes, I have a gap there. I'm not concerned yet. I'll clean those up. And let's get these two. This guy looked like he already had a cup of coffee. He's already trying to sneak a second. Let's get him in. And again, right here kind of muddies up for the brush strokes. That's okay. It'll look pretty cool no matter what when I do this effect. So I'm just going to grab what I'm interpreting as his arm, although I may be grabbing a chunk that's also the background. Not too concerned. Okay. And if we don't like what we have, we can always readjust this later on. It's mainly just getting this bulked out at the moment. Always fascinated by the expressions and the representation of the form of the basically the way that the anatomy of these figures was done, their noses and their eyes. It's very much a representation and a caricature, not and stylized. It's not something I think we would see in real life. At least I would hope not. Okay. So I have this lady, the background. Okay, just cleaning that up. Sometimes this wants to be cranky, and you can just go through and switch out to your polygon lasso tool and use that to get rid of some extra spots. So like kind of maybe around there. So I have this. Now, she doesn't need to be there, but that's okay. I'm going to ignore that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use that polygon lasso tool and chop off this chunk because I don't need it. And now I'm going to hit Control C, Control V. Alright. Now, I could spend forever going through and selecting this background, or I could go through and hold down Control and then click on the layers that I already had. So if I hold down Control, click on this layer, and then while I have Control held down and now adding Shift, you'll notice that my mouse now has the plus icon on it. So I'm going to click on this next one and the next one. Okay, great. I have all of this. Now, if I inverse my selection, I will naturally grab that background. And I also have to take into account some of these other spots, which I'm aware of. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to Edit, actually Select, Inverse, which is also Shift Control I. So I have that, and I'm going to go make sure I'm on the right layer. Control C, Control V. And now I have what I'm looking for. Now I have some ghosting going on around these edges. That's okay. I'm going to fix that really quickly. The last thing I need to do is make sure I add this lamp, and I'm going to add that to my layer right here. And I'm also going to make sure I name these so I don't go insane when I'm animating in After Effects. So let me go into this background layer, and I'm just going to quickly grab my lamp. Okay. And let's see, is this going to be cranky? Yeah, it's going to be a little bit cranky. I'm probably going to have to go through and use a tool like this. That's okay. So I'm just going around and trying to get this and maintain its curvature, not making it look like it's being chopped apart by some amateur Photoshop hack. Which is basically what's happening right now. But I just want it to maintain the way Van Gogh painted it. I don't want to miss any of these brush strokes. So I have all of this added now. And whoop. So I'm pretty sure there's a chunk of glass there that we just can't see. I think it's being insinuated, or it's being hinted at insinuated. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of some of this background area because I don't need it. See if this works. Just go around. Okay. That's really quick. Alright, that's looking pretty good. And if you hear some weird robot in your audio, it's because I got a 3D printer going right next to my desk, so I am not a robot. Alright, let's see. Which is also the first thing I think a robot would tell you if they were a robot. Alright, I've got that. That's pretty good. I'm going to Control C. Make sure I'm around this layer right here. Control V. So it'll be on top of it. I'm actually going to merge that down. Right click, go to merge down. And now we have that. Alright, that's doable. Now, let's check some stuff out. So I have her. She's right there. That's good. That's weird. There's a missing table. So that's going to be an issue. Also, I've got some chunkage here from the background. Not sure if that's a term. But we will delete this thing out. We do not need this. It'll allow for us to have some further sense of dimensionality in it, just because we have some areas that are in between the primary subjects that are moving. Okay. Alright, so if this is taking forever, remember you can adjust YouTube to make the video go at like twice the speed or 4 times the speed, whatever your flavor is for that. I notice that there is a little bit of a line here, so hit delete on that, and I'm going to just keep doing that to make sure everything else looks pretty good. I think that's fine. This is not. Okay, so notice that line actually came from another area, what I just deleted. That's okay, because what I'm going to use is my spot healing brush to fix that. So that, if it's not showing up, just make sure that you are hitting the J key, or make sure it looks like a little bandage. And I'm going to go over here, and under my layer, which I should probably name these, I'm going to call this one background. Call that mid back. Alright, so I got all that stuff. Just go to this one first. Make sure I have my heal spot layer heal or spot healing brush, and my scale for that was too big, so I'm just hitting my bracket left or open bracket key and reducing that down. Now I'm just going to click and drag, and when you do that, you'll notice that there's this little gray area that looks like a brush stroke is applied. When I let go of this, magic happens. Notice what happened there. So I'm going to undo. So I had this ugly line there. If I just dragged across, it cleaned it up. Did it blur it out a little bit? Yes. I could go even smaller to prevent all of that damage. This is the background, so it's not too big of a focal point. But that looks a little bit better. Let's redo that. Okay, so we'll keep it like that. I think that's fine. Now it's a fun trick. You got some friends, maybe they got some acne. You can go through, help them out for Facebook or Tinder, whatever the heck you're doing, and use this magical tool called the spot healing brush, and you can actually get rid of all sorts of things. You can also do something like going around edges and basically filling in those spots. Very helpful to do when you are trying to get rid of areas that aren't looking so great. Another thing we can try to do is, I clicked Control on this layer when I had my mouse right here, and I'm going to go to the Edit, Fill, and I'm going to make sure it says Content Aware. Let's see what the heck happens there. That said nothing was selected. Okay, let's do that one more time. Let's go inverse on that. So Control Shift I. Let's try it one more time. Okay, it's thinking. That's a good sign. Alright, that worked. So let me go back in time. So what I did, here's vanilla, nothing selected. I'm going to hold down Control, click on background, Control Shift I to reverse or inverse what I have. If you don't like that, go to Select Inverse. And then now I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, make sure Content Aware is on, hit OK, give it a couple seconds, and then let go. Now you'll notice it's trying to sample out some spots, but notice it even put in a wall and it brought down some of these other areas. This is awesome. We're never going to see this much in our background, so it is okay. And I like that. Now there's a weird floating lamp that was sampled in and some other things. That's very easy to fix now. We can use our spot healing tool and just go across these lines, and look at that, it's just going away. And it's something that this used to take me hours to do. I would have to fix photos or repair something in a photo, and this was like an entire person's job, many different people's jobs. And as you can see, robots are doing that for us, and they're doing a really good job at it. So let's just keep going and get rid of that. That's better. Maybe that's better. Okay, try and match that a little bit more. That's looking pretty good. So let's put our people back in there. Did it mess it up? No, it's actually not too bad. So what we're going to do is continue on with this technique with our next layer. So I have my background that I already did this to, but let me try and see what happens if I can do this to this section. This girl isn't a good idea to be there, because if we have her in the foreground and we animate that, we're going to see double girls in the image, which would be very strange. So what we're going to do is use this and get close to that subject. And as long as it's kind of filling in that smoky color, that's what I want. I don't want it to be additional hands that show up or anything like that. I'm sure you've all seen terrible sales ads where for some reason the model has an additional hand or something. So someone in Photoshop did not do their job correctly that day. That's pretty good. Now, I actually don't even need this to be that big, because when this was in there, that shape that I took was based on that head. So I'm actually going to go through, I'm going to hit the E key and then the bracket up and delete out some of that, because that doesn't even make sense. So maybe shape it more like his shoulder. Cool. I think that's, whoop, that's terrible. That's better. All right. That's not bad. Now I'm also going to include a little bit more around these edges, just a tad, to make it so there isn't just some floating spot there in case if the foreground elements don't completely match up. So again, the spot healing tool, I'm going to increase that and just go around there. That's looking pretty good. may not make 100% sense to us, but that's okay. And the rest of that's fine, because the rest of this area, that's going to make sense for that to kind of be in the background. But over here, since there's going to be overlap, I wanted something like this just to give us some ability to animate over that. And you'll see what I'm talking about if you're not really sure what the heck I'm going on about. So let's go on to this next one. There's a missing table. And also, I have a fuzzy little line there. So hit the E key to delete. And very quickly, I'm just going to go through my repair or spot heal, and I'm going to go across here. It's almost, yeah, there we go. I probably don't want a lot of additional coffee mugs. So if that's still not going to work for us, we can also go through and go to our clone stamp tool, which looks like this right here. Hold down Alt, but first actually we're going to go into an area that we like, so like right over here. I'm going to hold down Alt, and you'll notice that it changes to that crosshair. Click there, let go of Alt, and then over here just start to paint. So that's just going to repair that little spot. Okay, that's not bad. Go back to my spot heal, and I'm going to just increase that spot. Now I know I'm making an unlimited buffet of potatoes, which kind of goes against the whole point of this piece. But that's okay, because she's there, and if she moves just ever so slightly back and forth there, it's not like it's breaking people's minds when that happens. So that's a good idea, to keep extending that concept. So I have this layer, that layer, and my background. So let's see, this one, that one, that one, and that one. That's looking pretty good. I'm not seeing any weird edges that were occurring anymore. So this is looking like it's ready to go into After Effects. So now that I have this, what I'm going to make sure I do is save this, and then I'm going to bring this into the good old After Effects. So let me make sure I delete that first. So make sure these are all layers, and make sure you save this in Photoshop, and I'll see you in the next video.